Hi everyone, this is Tom from NoCode Shorts, where I interview NoCode founders from all over the world. And today I'm having a special guest, Julian, who is working in Eurocontrol on the simulators of the flights. And these simulators are built in Bubble with NoCode. Julian, could you please introduce yourself and tell us more about it?
Hello, so I'm Julian. Nice to meet you, Julian Valentine. I'm Spanish and started my no-code trip. Let's say I think it was 2 years and a half ago. I introduced, I started an internship at Eurocontrol. It's an international organization that takes care of the safety of aviation. And there, for circumstances, I finally ended up being a Babel developer, and I specifically developed two interfaces, two simulators that right now are being used by pilots and controllers for trainings and visibility of a specific technology. So yeah, I mean, I can just go start and go share my screen. Let's go. So this is the simulator. This is what you first see when you start. And you can see that you can choose between the pilot and the controller simulator. And so these two simulators are both used, as I was saying, for pilots and controllers for trainings, but it can also be for anyone else who is actually interested in a specific technology that is called CPDLC. Here you can see it, CPDLC, which is
Uh-huh.
basically called data link.
So to clarify, it can be used not only by pilots or controllers, right? It's
Yeah,
for
it's mainly
Mhm.
for people who are interested also in learning about this tool,
Okay.
about this technology. So yeah, I mean, this page is pretty straightforward. So I'm just gonna move, for example, to the pilot version, which is the first simulator that I developed with Bubble. And yeah, here you can see this is how it looks like when you first enter. There's some introductory message, and this is a new technology that many people don't really understand, right? So there's an onboarding available for those who don't
So this
really
is the
understand it.
actual, this is actually you rebuild the view of this device that pilots are using to communicate, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's something that is actually right now available in the cockpit of the
Mm-hmm.
airplane. It's really next to the pilot because you need to type with your fingers, that to send messages to the controller. And yeah, I basically replicated it so that it was so that it had a realistic view. Yeah, so basically, um, I'm not sure how I should proceed, if I should just show you directly or maybe guide you. Well, I can just show you if you click on guide me. Basically, here you're doing a whole onboarding session with 19 steps so that you can also learn about what data link is, or CPDLC. In this case, is as interactive as possible so that you can just know how to navigate, so that you know that you can, for example, use the physical keyboard to type, but also you can also use the virtual keyboard here available. And here what you're doing basically is specifying the airport code of destination and of origin, because you as a
This is
pilot,
the tutorial step by step how to use it, like you
yeah,
were, sitting in the cabin and being a pilot. And for example, where are you flying from and to, and it gives you an guidance what to type, right? Okay. Mhm.
exactly. So here there's some airport codes that you can like maybe put, but there are we all know that there's so many. So imagine that I want to fly from Paris to Madrid. So first I would type it on the virtual keyboard. I would save it in the field origin. Sta means origin station, and then let's say that I'm going to Madrid, so I type LEMD and I type it on the destination. And this is this whole procedure of logging into the tower control so that then you can send messages and receive messages from the controller, etc. There's a noise also. I don't know if you heard it, but it's as if a notification had arrived coming from the controller.
Okay.
But yeah,
Mhm.
this is for the onboarding. We don't need to go through the whole thing, so we
Yeah,
can
sure.
also end it. Mute. No, where was it? Finish the onboarding here. But yeah, basically this is the tool for the pilots. There's also a lot of documentation and interactive explanations here, so that it also helps you on your experience while using this simulator. There's suggested scenarios and some help on how to fill out these fields and many others
Mm-hmm.
that there are available. So this would be the one for the pilot. And if we go to
And
the
it
controller,
actually works. I mean, you can click on the keyboard, type in things, and it guides you to help you to get familiar with this, right? So the pilots who are training, they're actually using this simulator you built?
yeah, so pilots specifically who want to learn about the technology data link, which basically
Sure.
allows pilots and controllers to communicate via text. Um, so yeah, is for them to learn, especially maybe for juniors or for
Mm-hmm.
those who want to like maybe refresh something. They just can come here to this public website of Eurocontrol, and they can play around with it, and they can
So it's
refresh
public,
some concepts.
so you can
Yeah,
go
it's
to the
completely
public
public.
website. Wow. Okay. So it's
Yeah,
good for
completely
all the
public.
people who are watching this, guys. You can play around with yourself, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so this would be the pilot one. Should I move maybe to the controller one?
Yeah.
Or
Let's take a
yeah,
look at the controller ones because there
yeah.
is also a controller
So
view.
it's exactly the same concept, but this time seen from a controller point of view. So if we click here, we switch to the controller simulator. It's running. And yeah, this was the second simulator I developed because when I was working at Eurocontrol, everyone was telling me, "Hey, but when are you gonna do the other side? It's also important." So I was like,
Okay.
"Well, whenever you want." So yeah, it's the same concept, also an onboarding so that people can get started easily. But let's say that this time we skip it
Yep.
and we start anyway. And here you can see that in this case, you see this triangle, right, with KLM. This is the airline company, KLM, that I think is Swedish.
Uh-huh.
And here, what's important is the mouse instead of the keyboard. So, for example, me as a controller, this is a flight, right, an airplane, and I need to take the responsibility of it. And so for that, I need to right click on this flight, and you will see that the color will change to green. So I'm right clicking right now, and you see that the color
Uh-huh.
has changed to green, and that means that I am the controller, and now the KLM is my responsibility. So I can start to send messages, to receive messages from the pilot, and so this is also used by pilots and controllers, especially more controllers, for them to know exactly how data link works from a controller point of view.
Mm-hmm. But it
Yeah,
simulates the behavior of a screen and the device that controllers are using to control
yeah,
planes, right? Mm-hmm.
exactly. Pretty cool, I would say.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it even has some documentation as well here. Well, we can close this message, and it's some interactive documentation and assistance because, well, the technical papers of aviation are really complex. They're all like pages and pages of text,
Mm-hmm.
and so they also come here for documentation to know, for example, what each. Maybe I can zoom in here. What each field here means to really
Mm-hmm.
understand, because here it all works with codes and you really need to know exactly what each thing means. So this interactive information is for everyone. Yeah, just to know exactly what each
Mm-hmm.
position means. Yeah. And it also has a legend for you to understand what the triangles mean. So in this case, is the green triangle up, which means that currently it's under the control of the present controller. Yeah. So this flight is right now my responsibility. This is what it means. But
And
there's a
can you
bunch of,
also
of color
interact
code.
with this, for example, to change it to gray, or this is only, to clicking to take
Mm,
the control, or do you have
no,
some
this
more
is
interactions here?
yeah. This is just for you to know. You can also
Okay.
click
Mm-hmm.
here and you see that there's different variations of the same triangle or of the same color. But the change of the colors happen here when you're actually
Mm-hmm.
managing the flight. So for example, now if I send the contact message, you see that now it has changed the color. It's a bit lighter, which means that the controller is waiting for a response from the pilot. And if the pilot says, if it accepts what I said, yeah, it changes to white and the triangle is now pointing to the right. You see, and now we can see what it means, the triangle to the right, which means that, yeah, that basically we are not part of them anymore. Um, So yeah, it's all about this, about knowing
Yeah.
how to send messages and receive messages, pilot, controller, all the time.
And you can
Because
actually here, by clicking on this, simulate to send the dialogue between the controller and the pilot, right? Like you did right now.
sorry,
The,
you mean this?
you can, yeah. You
Yeah,
can also
exactly.
click and have some options on this.
Yeah, there's menus. So for example, this 26 means the altitude at which the flight is flying right now. So I just clicked on this one, and there's this 260, which is the current altitude of the flight. But maybe I am the controller and I want the flight to actually climb to the level 290,
Mm-hmm.
So I click on 290, and then I click on uplink, which means that I'm going to send the uplink message to the pilot. And I click on it and it's sending, and now I'm waiting for the response of the pilot, this whole thing. So yeah, there's a bunch of hidden menus here when you click on each thing. But yeah, it's pretty complex also.
Yeah, and it's so cool. I
Yeah.
mean, when we first met at NoCode UK, after your presentation, a lot of people were so impressed that, you can build such complex interfaces and interactions with Bubble, right? Because the app
Yeah,
was built in Bubble. Let's jump
yeah.
into the editor and take a look because
Let's
I can't
go.
wait to take a look
Let's go.
how it actually was built.
Let's go. Let me show you. So this is the editor. This is the index. So nothing to really show here. I can maybe start with the pilot or with the controller.
Yeah,
Maybe
let's
I
go
go
with
by
the
order.
pilot because we started
Yeah,
with pilot, so
yeah,
let's take a
exactly.
look at pilot.
So yeah, maybe this sounds familiar now. The in the
Yeah.
editor, this is this kind of like scientific calculator, um, and yeah, well, it was a whole thing, to actually come up with an idea on how to make it. You see that these are the buttons that allow you after to like navigate through the pages. This is the keyboard, the virtual keyboard that then you can click and then it would appear here. So for example, I don't know, it's also been some time since I actually navigate a lot, but let's say that I want to show you, I don't know, just one page for you to know, yeah, like the text is here, like it's really made with
Hmm.
Bubble. That's all I mean here. But yeah, for example, maybe I could tell you about some challenges that I faced.
Yeah, what was the hardest part in building it?
Yeah, many things I would say, but because also I was learning with it because it was my first Bubble project.
Oh.
So
Mhm.
yeah, like maybe after 1 week I was like, but what I just did could be better in a different way, So I had to reiterate a lot. But one major challenge that I had was that they had asked me to please um, make this like a unique session for each user, but without authenticating,
Okay.
So it was a bit complex at first, but then I realized that I could just work with custom states. So in this case, the custom states, I always put them in the page. And let's say that, for example, yeah, this logs FC, this is the important one. Log FC, that's the data type, the important one. And it just means it represents each text. So for example, this please proceed with downlink request, blah, blah, blah. That's one log FC.
Hmm.
And so what I'm doing basically is when you start when you first enter in the page in the controller in the pilot simulator, there's two buttons. Remember, there was one to start anyway, or maybe to
Yeah.
start the onboarding, and that's exactly when I'm starting this custom state. And basically, I don't know if you saw, but it's an actual list of log
Hmm.
FCs, and it's just stacking that list and stacking that list with messages exchanged between the pilot and the controller. And that way, that means that the session it will be just specific for that user without
Hmm.
having to authenticate. So
Okay, that's smart.
yeah, that was it took me some time until finally I could figure it out because I understand also that this is kind of like a game, right? So you don't really want to authenticate, otherwise
Yeah.
there's gonna be
Yeah.
way less people. So yeah, that's
Good
one
analogy.
challenge.
Yeah, good analogy. Actually, it's a game and the interface. And how did you make it look so cool, right?
Yeah,
So
that's another challenge.
like.
Yes. So normally, I don't know when you want to do something, you usually look for inspiration, right? But in this case, I didn't really have inspiration except for maybe like actually going to the cockpit and seeing how it looks like.
So you could go to the cockpit and see how it looks like, and this was your inspiration on how to build it?
Yeah, at first, yes, because I needed to know how it looked like. Of course,
Okay.
I also had an executable that it was the previous simulator that stopped being available actually, so I could also check that, but it was not made with Bubble. It was made with Flash Player. So
Okay. Oh, with
so in
Flash. Okay.
yeah, but that stopped working. So yeah, but so
Mm-hmm.
in my case, also what I did was to check how it was the Windows 98. To see uh, how they actually did the shadows. And yeah,
Okay.
here you can see,
Mm-hmm.
for example, yeah, this here that I'm talking about, this kind of
Mm-hmm.
button, right? That is not using like the classic shadows of the blurry radius, the spread, the offsets. Instead, what it's doing is, if we go, for example, to this edge. Well, let me maybe zoom in so that you can all see better. 200. Yeah, so you see here these edges on the
Yeah.
top and on the left. Well, basically, what I was doing is playing with the border. So on the left and on the top, the border should be lighter, because imagine that the light is actually coming from the sky. So
Uh-huh.
what you need to do is put the borders lighter on the left and on the right, and then at the bottom, it needs to be a bit darker, right? So
This is the
at the
first
bottom
time
and
I
on the right.
see the inspiration comes from Windows 98. So
Yeah, for sure. With such a new and modern tool like Bubble, right? I had to go actually to the past to be
yeah.
able to develop something. Yeah. And so this principle, I actually applied it to everything. So you see the buttons
Mm-hmm.
also have the same. They have different shades of gray and black. Yeah. So that's how I actually figured out how to make it look like metallic and all, basically. Yeah, that was another challenge that yeah, finally I figured it out, and that was cool. Then another one was also that I needed to use the least plugins as possible, because of maintenance. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like maybe in the future someone else will have to take care of it, or maybe in the future I will have less availability. So I didn't want to depend that much on plugins. So if you see the plugins here, there's only
Oh,
five.
yeah.
Um, Although I want to remove this one because it's actually not necessary, and I can just use some JavaScript instead. But yeah, I'm really happy that actually there's only, let's say, four,
Yeah,
because
that
this one is
seems
not.
for such a complex app. Only four. I
Yeah.
mean, these are not the real plugins. I mean, the toolbox should be included in Bubble. Come on, right? So
Oh yeah,
not
for
this.
sure. Always by default, exactly.
Yeah.
Also, you
Also
use
the
stretch it
classify.
to be the classify. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, in the end, as you see, like mainly these two were the most used, and they are actually code related, and that introduces the other challenges that I had. So for example, in this case, the keyboard here, which is a repeating group, but I also needed to, because this is the virtual keyboard is working, it's all fine. But imagine that you're actually using the simulator, and you have to be typing all the time with the button, sorry, with the mouse on each key.
Mm-hmm.
So I also wanted to put available the physical keyboard, right? So for
Mm-hmm.
that, you see here this HTML, which is huge. And there's a specific JavaScript. I think I put it
Just
actually on the option sets.
JavaScript to operate the normal keyboard
Yeah,
to be
exactly.
used. Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
here you can see the code, which
Okay.
basically is taking, yeah, it's taking a specific keys that I want them to be
Yeah.
available, because not all the keys from your keyboard are available, or
Sure.
available only the characters and the
Yeah.
numbers. Yeah.
So some of this
Uh,
can be of course achieved using plugins, but as you said, the less plugins you have, the better. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
including a lot of JavaScript. So this is also a common issue for the people that are thinking that you cannot build something with Bubble. I mean, if you cannot do it, just include a JavaScript snippet, and now it's possible, right? So
Yeah, it's super. I would say that there's many things you can do, but in case that in very specific scenarios you have a limitation, you can always take care of it by using some custom code. So that's great.
yeah, which can
And
be
also,
which can be
mhm.
right now can be written by ChatGPT, right? By the way.
Yeah, exactly. It's even easier.
Yeah.
Exactly. Should I move to maybe to the controller one?
Yeah, yeah. Let's move on to
Yeah,
the control and take a look at this.
yeah. So in this case, let's see. So maybe in this one I can reduce the zoom. And this one, it took me less time. Also, it was the second interface. I had already like a bunch of stuff that I could reuse from the pilot version, so it took me in a way less time.
But from the
But
interface perspective, it's just like a separate app, right? It's completely different.
yeah, it's completely different. Yeah, it had to be because in the end it's a controller version also, so it needs to have like a completely different feel, even if you still want to have the feeling that you're still inside the simulator's
Yeah.
experience sensation. I don't know. Um, so yeah, in this case, for this one specifically, to get the inspiration, I had a bit more freedom, although still there are some buttons that still use the borders that I mentioned before, because still has to have like this old view. But to actually get the inspiration and to know exactly how they work, I had to actually go to like an operation room from the Netherlands to actually know how it worked, and they have like some testing environments that I could play around with to exactly know how it worked.
Oh, it's
So
pretty cool project to work on, right?
for sure, very niche, and I love niche in the end.
Yeah.
So let me see if I find it. Yeah, this is what I mean with the buttons, basically that they still had to wait. So this is a draggable. So this is the other plugin that I'm using that it was important. Sorry, here, the plugins here,
For
the
dragging.
draggable elements. Yeah, because in this case, it was absolutely necessary. And I don't know any other better option than using this plugin, which was actually developed by Bubble. So
Yeah,
that was
it's a
great.
Bubble plugin, right? It
Yeah,
also
so
should
it
be
feels a
included.
bit, more reliable in that sense.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so this drag, you see that the icon is with the hand, and that means it's draggable. That it was like maybe the biggest difference compared to the previous one. But yeah, maybe no bigger issue, although something that I did have to work with, if I go back to the controller, was that I still needed to, like, me as a controller, I still needed to receive messages from the pilot, and for that I didn't really know how to implement it until finally, of course, I figured it out. And for that I had to actually use backend workflows that they were kind of like being scheduled every, I don't remember how often. Let's see. So which one was it? Yeah, climb, for example, this one. So imagine that I am the controller. I have the option. This is more like for advanced users, but because right now here, what you can do is only me as a controller send messages to the pilot, but I can also specify, like, I also want pilots to send me messages. I want to see how that is as well. So yeah, this is what it means, the downlink sequence. It means
Uh-huh.
pilots sending messages to the controller. And so you can
Okay.
like select the messages that you want. There can be more.
Uh-huh.
There's And then you can run the uplink sequence, the downlink sequence, sorry. And that means that this API workflow in particular is now getting triggered, and yeah, it will, I think it was like every 30 seconds more or less, I think it will be sending those messages, these three messages in particular, to the controller. Let's see if we have received any. No, not for now. But yeah, at some point you will
Yeah.
see that we have received it.
So it will
But
stimulate the real behavior
yeah,
of
exactly. And
Mhm.
so this is how this is using loops, which are also possible in Babel.
Yeah.
But on the backend specifically. So yeah, basically, I had to get like a bit of a higher subscription so that I could implement this. And yeah, that was probably the biggest challenge I had with the second one, because it was important to receive messages from the pilot. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
And
must say, that's a pretty cool way of learning how to build on Bubble by building such a cool project. Interacting with, being able to go to the cockpit and to visit
yeah,
all these
pretty
facilities. I mean, wow.
pretty unique for sure.
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah,
is.
I don't even know when I will get another chance to like this one. I wish I can like make more, but yeah, it's also in aviation, things also move slowly. So
Yeah.
maybe they
How
ask me to
about
do another one, but in the future, yeah.
how about the maintenance? Because it was deployed, right? And
Yeah.
does it require any type of maintenance in terms of you supporting it, or if it just works?
It just works. That's absolutely fine because, but yeah, I'm also the only one who knows Bubble at Eurocontrol at the organization. So anytime that there's an error, anyway, I have automatized in case that there are
Hmm.
errors. Like they will send me, like Bubble itself will send me errors. That's why I created this error data type. It's very simple and it's just sending me the messages in case that there are errors. I don't think there are many. But they're usually like maybe plugin related. That's why, for
Okay.
example, I completely removed one plugin because it was not necessary. But the other maintenance that there is, for example, it could be if the I don't know if I receive requests of, hey, I actually would like I am a pilot and I would like to also add this new message to the downlink sequence because I want to test
Hmm.
on that. And I also made it try to make it as scalable as possible, and for that I am just on the option sets, I think it's here. I don't remember right now. Yeah, so I just have to add it here. Blah blah blah. I put the
Hmm.
message that the pilot has requested me, and then it's added, and the experience is still the same one. It won't affect the
Yeah.
rest. It's just a new message being added. So yeah, those two things maybe are the two biggest maintenance situation I have to handle, but not big deal to be honest. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
again, yeah, congratulations on that. And for the people who are interested in jumping into the no code movement, could you give one piece of advice for the aspiring developers why they should be in the no code, why
yeah,
they
for
should
sure.
start with building on no code, and maybe one piece of advice why they shouldn't. So
Why they
why
shouldn't
they
also.
should, why they shouldn't. Okay.
Okay. Well, they should because I mean, in my case, I felt especially super powerful with all this because I actually at the beginning when I started my internship at Eurocontrol, like the task was still to make this simulator, the first one, the pilot one, and I didn't really know how to because well, I am also a telecommunications engineer, and so I have some programming knowledge, but I didn't have the knowledge specific to actually make such thing. And it was actually thanks to no code that I actually felt like, oh, actually maybe I can make it. So it was this ambition and power that I felt on me thanks to Bubble specifically in this case that I was actually able to develop what I wanted to make. Otherwise, maybe they weren't gonna be as happy with me, the my manager in that moment. So so yeah, I would say it's about the power and the ambition. Like it just gets multiplied by five at least, because everything is a bit more possible. For people who maybe don't know, like there's a specific area of programmers who know a lot, but there's also many that would like to do what programmers do, but they don't have that way of thinking as much. So that definitely that's the benefit of it. And maybe what I could also say about maybe not using no code. Well, I don't know. Like for example, if you are, let's say that you are actually a programmer and you really have, I don't know, like you like your things in a certain way. Well, you're still gonna find some limitations. I don't know with all no code tools, of course, because I don't know them all. Let's talk about Bubble in this case, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's some limitations for sure. I know it because there's some people who complain about that, but I don't face those limitations, at least not yet, or maybe sometimes, but when things get way too complex. So maybe some programmers are very, very like specific, and if they want things in a certain way, but maybe they feel the limitation in that case. That could be one type of people, let's say. Another type of people maybe is those who don't have enough time, because maybe they are working with something else and they want to switch to no code. Well, that also, I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying it will take some time. It has a big learning curve anyway. Maybe it's way easier than coding, but it's still difficult. So what I mean with all this is that you need to be patient also.